Here are my 7 tips to make matcha drinks for study and deep work, with 3 tested ratios at the end that just works. So choosing the right type of matcha drink for deep work and study is going to be the make or break. It's going to make it more enjoyable, more sustainable, or it's going to be the worst decision ever. And for that, you want matcha lattes. I go for lattes because inherently matcha lattes have a higher dose of matcha powder, which means it has a higher dose of caffeine and L-theanine. Matcha lattes on its own need more matcha powder. And just remember this, 1 gram of matcha is around 30 milligrams of caffeine. And we're gonna front load the caffeine and L-theanine essentially to kick the brain into that deep focus and study mode. And for that, you need a lot of matcha. And because lattes also are mixed with milk and sugar, which will give you roughly 60 to 100 calories that your brain can use. One of the most important factors that you can control with making matcha drinks is the temperature. Too much heat, you're gonna over extract the flavors, making it bitter, and too little heat, or if the water is too cold, it will extract fewer flavors. For matcha lattes, the most standard way is to make it hot. And if you have a kettle, but you don't have an EKG kettle that can control the water temp, leave your boiling water for 5 to 8 minutes. Usually on the higher side, you're gonna find that it's gonna be a little bit more mellow. Don't burn your matcha. It will just ruin your drink no matter how you're making it. On the same token, too cold, the flavors will be undeveloped because it takes longer for the flavors to be extracted. And also it won't whisk and blend properly. So if you've been drinking room temp water or cold matcha and you find it has been a grainy, clumpy experience, that might be why. Just remember this though. Hot water will give you depth. Cold water takes longer to extract, so it's gonna take longer to extract that depth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with cold whisking matcha. It's just gonna make your matcha profile very different to a hot water. For hot water, stay between 70 to 80. If you're going 85 or if it's boiling, you are on the edge of ruining your drink. So 85 is the max I would go. Bamboo whisk and matcha. A chasen is synonymous with a matcha ritual because you're going to be whisking it, and we need this because it's going to develop the flavors of your matcha. If you have this, use this. But also, there is nothing wrong with using an electric frother, because for beginners, a frother is going to be the easiest way to not mess up your matcha so that it can be blended and dissolved and frothed properly. Most of the time, you don't have bad matcha. You are impatient with the whisking and the frothing process. So if you're using a bamboo whisk or if you're using electric frother, after sifting it and frothing it in the milk, in the water, go back in with the scoop or a spoon, scrape all the things at the bottom and spin it again with the frother. Done. Milk is a major player in your matcha drinks, especially for deep study. For deep work, I like to use nut milks and all variants of nut milks. I like to use an oat, but that's because I don't like lactose. You can use whole milk, cow's milk, whatever milk you like. The only thing you want to watch out for with the whole milk, cow's milk, organic milk, whatever that is that sometimes the fatty, high fat content is going to mess with your matcha and the flavors that is in the matcha. The last thing you want is a milk being too overpowering. So using a low fat or non-dairy option is gonna make your drinks that much snappier and just easy to drink. One thing with milk is that sometimes, for some reason, the ratios in this milk doesn't hit. For me, it was a Minor Figures Barista Oat. This used to be one of my favorites, and now my favorite is a Califia and Oatly. But this Minor Figures Barista Oat, way too watery. I already tried everything to tweak it, change the ratio of my matcha, change the ratio of my sweeteners, change all that, didn't work. Just something to do with this milk. I tried new matcha, old matcha. It's the goddamn milk, all right? It's your milk, not the matcha's fault. Use an expensive brand or a brand that's more consistent. This leads to my next tip, the milk to matcha ratio. The matcha base that you want is between 40 to 100 mils of matcha liquid. Keep in mind, for a strong matcha base on its own, you need to use less water. More water will expand and dilute your matcha flavors. So if you want a strong matcha, use less water. And it works the same with milk. The more milk you use, the weaker the matcha tastes because you're expanding the drink as a whole. My favorite ratio so far are the smaller drinks because I just find it more ideal to sip on it for longer periods of time. It's like sipping on a beer and having a chat with your friends instead of taking shots of vodka and tequila to get plastered. That's kind of fun, but you want to work. So if you want a drink to sip on, I always recommend the smaller ratios because the stronger taste is always there. And here are my top 3 that always hits the spot. The first one is 4 grams matcha, 6 grams of sugar, 50 mils of water, and 75s of milk. This is a smaller ratio, but it's just the right amount of milk. The second one is 4 grams matcha, 13 grams of maple, 80 mils of water, and 140 mils of milk. This is a medium-sized drink with predominantly maple flavors. So if you don't like the natural sweetness, go for maple. With the maple, it also provides an interesting balance to the milk you choose. The third one is 10 grams matcha. 10 grams sugar, 90 mils of water, 150 milk. This is one of the strongest and biggest matcha lattes I have made recently. It feels like it shouldn't work. It has at least 300 milligrams of caffeine, and alongside that, it has L-theanine so they can concentrate better for longer, smoother without energy crash. I don't usually do big drinks, but this one works. Just keep an open mind and don't be afraid to trial, error, see what your preference is like. Different matchas have different tastes, different milks mixed with different matchas. It's gonna give you a different result almost every time. Save this for later. See you on the next one. I grabbed someone from the street. She's a homeless volunteer. Woo! Right? I think we have perfected a massive big latte.